What's going on YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another video today. I'm giving you guys DDDs. I have heard you guys. I know you guys have been asking, for a while about DDDs, but so I went ahead and asked my buddy Frank to come on and talk about his DDD list. Say hello to everybody, Frank.
Yo, what's going on, people?
So first things first, Frank. You admit that without needle fiber, DDDs aren't a standard DDD list is probably not the most viable thing right now, correct?
Yeah, the pure variant really isn't that good right now. It's basically unplayable. If you even to be honest, with needle fiber and Big Genghis, it makes the pure variant viable, but I wouldn't say competitive. It'd probably be a tier 2 deck at best, depending on how well it's built.
It makes sense. I mean, it's possible we could get both cards, in Battles of Legend, which, yeah, I feel the same thing about Yang Zings, where I had the deck finished and then Denglong got banned, and now I'm just waiting for Needle Fiber. So I feel like a lot of DDD players kind of feel the same way. But what's interesting about this particular list is this is the first time I've ever seen a DDD list without draw cards, but I see what you're going. You want to make sure Electromite hits the board and goes off, and that's the best way to... Electromite's probably one of the best cards in the game right now, to be completely honest.
Yeah, the card's retarded broken.
Exactly. And, what I do like about this list is while it is primarily focusing on Electromite, it still has the core DDD cards. You can't call some... To me... I wouldn't, we didn't call Burning Abyss Speedroid Burning Abyss because it played 3 Terror Tops. Everyone was playing 3 Terror Tops. So I kind of like that this list has the core DDD philosophy still at its core.
Yeah, it still has the whole heart of the DDDs, but it basically runs off of 3 engines, and all 3 engines have synergy between each other, and they all complement each other, and they all help trigger off to the same goal of either OTKing your opponent if you're going second, or setting up a huge negate board, putting as many negates on the field as to just disrupt your opponent as much as possible, which is kind of the logical why that I don't run stuff draw. I don't run draw cards in the deck, because if you look at the list, everything in the deck is searchable or summonable by another card, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 cards. So everything in the deck gets to everything in the deck, basically. There's not a card except for some of the spells that aren't obtainable except by drawing. And also the deck doesn't need hand traps for the sole purpose of the fact that you can just play through a lot of stuff, and you really don't need to. Hand traps only slow down the problem. It doesn't really prevent the problem for the most part. So that's kind of my logic of why I don't play them. I do side the Droll and Lockbirds, because I feel like Droll and Lockbird is the best hand trap right now, because Ash and Ogre, they stop a card, but Droll and Lockbird can stop a turn. It's been pretty consistent for the most part. I say I have about an 85% consistency rate versus the last build, which didn't have the Mythical Beast added to it.
That was the build you took to the regional that you managed to get to the top cut, right?
Yes.
Makes sense. So as far as other things, the 3 Thomas is something that's not a normal ratio, but I think, it's obvious why it's here at 3. It gets you to Electromite, pop a card, get a Ragna, gets your entire play string going. And
that's what enables the pendulum summons as well, which is usually your biggest push point.
Yeah, because you have chronograph, scale consistency, it seems strange because I know how long we were saying in the DDD group that DDDs are not a pendulum deck. Well, now they're a pendulum deck, and you have so many different scales and cards that pretty much everything is accessible. The one thing though, looking at the list though, is that Called by the Grave is pretty much a 3 of staple, and then I've heard this from a lot of people who are playing, these heavy combo-based decks. Stephen Outley said it on the Magician page that, and this is what Ryan and Screencasters told me. They told me your deck has the highest ceiling, so you don't really need hand traps in the main deck, like you said. You just need to stop your opponent from stopping you, essentially, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so...
And with all the cards that I can use to go off, I have so many different 2 to 3 card combos. Especially when I'm going second, that gives me 3 extra cards that I can burn, debate cards out. And just basically, if you look at the deck, almost everything is a good card to hit. So especially if they don't know what the deck is doing, they won't know what to hit. I mean, if a smart player, they'll try to get the Electromite, but most of the time, even that won't even stop a player, because if I make Electromite, then chances are I have a way to make a second Electromite, and I just cycle back through it. Or if I just so happen to draw a Saki one of like a Reborn or a Soul Charge, I'll just bring it back and continue what I was doing, and then link it off when I'm done with it.
Makes sense. How are you liking the Mythical Beast? Because I see a lot of Pendulum Magician players tend to be divided. I've seen it called Mythical Bricks, but you seem to really like it a lot more than a lot of players seem to.
Well, see, the Mythical Beast engine, I only like them really going first. If I'm going second or into game 3 and I'm going first, to be honest, I will side them out. That's a free 5-card slot that I can side out without affecting any of the major engines. So I can side out those 5 and add in 3 Mind Crush, 2 D-Barrier if I'm going first, or if I'm going second, I can add 2 Board Wipes, 3 Cyclones. That's just an easy 5-card side out that I can use to just adapt my engine to combating some of these decks that I have to face. Like, they could be kaijus, it could be anything. Just going first, it's just mainly like I only use them in game 1 because of the fact I can use them to help trigger off Chronograph and Astrograph, and also helps get to Electromite faster. Like if I have Cerberus Kepler, I have the whole combo because I can just pop the Cerberus, get the Jackal, activate the Jackal, special to Cerberus, normal Kepler, get my Gate, get my Thomas, link into Electromite, and then go off. And then the main reasons I like them is because not because of the combo, but is that I can Cerberus is basically a free level 8 that if I end up with Astrograph in hand and I send the Astrograph to the extra deck, if I make the second Electromite, I'll toss Ragnarok, and then I'll end up Pendulum summoning 2 level 8s, and then I can just special the Cerberus out and make 2 rank 8s on top of whatever else I was going to make. And also, if I open Chronograph, I can special the Jackal and just stack counters on the Jackal, and then just basically have a free negate, monster negate during either player's turn, for free, and I don't have to commit into overlaying or synchro or exceeding into to make that. So it's just basically extra disruption and an extra 8 that I can summon. Or worst case scenario, Cerberus is just a free beat stick.
Yeah, that's what I've seen from a lot of Pendulum Magician players, is that's one thing that the people who do like it. And there's something to be said for like the rank 7s. The rank 7s of the rank 6s of the deck. I mean, I've even considered playing Utopia Beyond again because how good the card can be. But as far as the extra deck, yeah. I mean, it is missing Skull Dread. You were telling me before that Skull Dread. The problem with Skull Dread is that by the time you get to it, it's not necessary because it's a little like it's a very icing on the cake kind of card. Correct?
Yes. Like my logic, I was playing Skull Dread because there is a 2-card combo that does make Skull Dread. The only problem with it is that it takes away your Pendulum Summon, and around the Pendulum Summon time is where your biggest push point is, where you start dropping your 2 to 3 negates. I found myself, after I make Skull Dread, that I'll usually end on like maybe 1 negate or 2 if I'm lucky, and I hit a Saki card like Reborn or Soul Charge. But the problem, I do understand that I do get an extra special summon, but I find myself not going any further than Metaltron because I'll do Electromite and then with Absolute, and then I'll link those 2 off into Metaltron, and then I'll just start summoning my negates underneath Metaltron, which basically, if I have Astrograph in either my graveyard or extra deck, which 9 times out of 10 I will, because when I overlay into Absolute, I'll have Astrograph out, and it basically turns all my negates into floaters. So if they kill one of my negates, I get the float into an Astrograph, basically, because I'll add it back and then I'll special it right then and there. So it makes it harder to push past my field, because I can do that 3 times. If I have 3 negates and I have a bunch of Astrographs, or at least 2, I can at least float away 2 times, so that's more monsters that they have to get past to get to my life points.
This is why Astrograph should be banned, boys. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, even as a magician player,
I do the same thing with Chronograph.
I mean, Chronograph's a good card, but like the the amount of bullshit one astrograph can enable is just with Electromite. It's astrograph's always been a fine card. It's just the interact. It's sometimes you have an older card interacts with a new card and it causes problems. We know Droll and Lock and Reincarnation. So
Yeah.
but looking at the extra deck, it's been a long time since I've seen a DDD list. So I'm assuming with this kind of list, you don't have Necroslimes, you don't have Swamp Kings, so you don't really need anything else other than the Oracle, because the Oracle is literally just a Oracle's for most intensive purposes has always been just a gate to get you to where you need to go. So I see why it's only Oracle, but I admit, like, from someone who was playing 5 fusions back in the day, like, it kind of saddens me. But like, that's Master Rule 4, you know.
I mean, that's the problem with the deck, because I tried playing Swirl and Necro Slime in my earlier testing, and I also played Swamp King. But as I went through it, I found it to the point where I would maybe fuse twice at most in a game, and then it came to the point as the deck evolved, that the most I'll ever fuse would be once, and I would rarely want to see Swirl Slime in my hand at that. Because in pure DDDs, Swirl Slime is your starter card. In Supreme King, it's more of an extender. It mainly helps you get that Oracle for either your Trickstar matchup, or 9 times out of 10 is either a beat stick or to make Vortex Dragon or Meteor Burst, whichever I choose to go into after I use Absolute. So using more than one fusion, I had Genghis in there for my last event, and I didn't summon it all day. It was basically a dead card in my extra deck. I was wishing it was something else, so as soon as I got home, that was the first thing I cut. Cut out Gate 0, because Gate 0 does absolutely nothing. Even if you have Chronograph, I mean, that's literally best case scenario. I mean, it was a searchable lore target when I was playing it. But
sense.
I cut the Gate 0 out because it was just a brick.
Yeah, like, because like that's my experience from testing too. Is I've been testing a list with the Supreme Kings with like Needle Fiber, and that's my same experience with Gate 0. I'm just like, this card is doing it. It's the same experience I had with Dark Contract of the Witch when we first got the structure deck. When I was testing, I was like, every time I drew Witch, I was like, I wish this card was something else, and it's the same thing, I think. So Bills is an interesting.
The same thing with like hand traps too, because hand traps get in the way as well.
Yeah, Bills is an interesting tech. I know it's in here for True Dracos, because like a deck like DDD's, while it can play very well against True Dracos, you just need a card that just says, F you, True Dracos, I'm going to beat you, and that's kind of like, that's where Bills really comes in with the deck, I think. But
yeah, because if you have Bills plus like negates, it just causes a huge problem. But True Draco isn't the only reason I play Bills. I also play Bills because of Mech Knight and Vote. They actually legit can't get around that card. The only main deck out to it would have to be either Barrel Load, which I can prevent from even coming out, and Mind Control. If they don't have Mind Control, they can't kill the Bills. There's literally no way for them to do it. You drop Bills in defense, and then you can. I literally dueled a Mech Knight and Vote player at my last regional, and it literally sat on the field till the game was over.
Yeah, I did that to a Mermail player once with Oracle at a regional, so I've had that feel. It's very entertaining. But anyways, looking at the rest of the extra deck, Doritos, we all know how good Dorito is with the Supreme King engine. Although I will preface this by saying it's a card that comes up more when you play the Mythical Beast. It doesn't come up quite as much. The 2 rank 8s is really interesting, because I haven't seen a DDD, or the 3 rank 8s, because I haven't seen a DDD list with Felgrand in it since like pre-structure deck. But I've played DDDs long enough to know that DDD's greatest weakness is monster effects, and you need things that stop monster effects, and that's where Felgrand comes in really clutch.
Yeah, if you look at the extra deck, you can see that the effect negation ratio is like very diverse, because in certain matchups you're going to need more monster negates, or certain matchups you're going to need more spell and trap negates. Especially going like game 2, I will expect the like board wipes, kaijus, and evenly matched. I'll try to push for Siegfried and Vortex, and then a monster negate beside them, because the monster negate won't be as relevant. But I'll be more focused on stopping that evenly matched. Like the entire regional I went to last time, I had at least 3 people try to evenly match me, and none of them were able to resolve. just
That's
because
pretty.
they couldn't bait out enough negates, and I would let stuff resolve. Like I wouldn't like in game 2 and 3. I have to be super careful. Like I will hold my negates until I see something that can potentially threaten my board. Like instead of like going first, I'll just stop everything that they do. Versus going second and third games, where I'll just be more cautious about what I stop and just only stop anything that would threaten my board. Like if I see them about to drop something that's like detrimental, like they try to activate a pill to summon Ultimate Conductor or anything like Evenly Matched, Dark Hole, Regeki. This one dude activated Twin Twisters trying to bait me out by popping Gate and Thomas. Like, all right, go ahead, you can take those. Like, I'm only gonna stop things that are detrimental to the field I've established.
Yeah, you gotta really be careful. Like I think Drew's DPYGO said this in a video a long time ago about counter fairies, where he said just because you have 4 counter traps set, because you play a lot of counter traps, you have to be really careful about what you negate because you know it can be gone. But Kali Yuga is also like, I feel like that's one of the DDDs that's always been one of DDD's best tools. Going second is being able to just like, you know, you're playing against Paleos, they have a whole bunch of back row and a Toad. If you can get to a Kali Yuga, you can clear their entire board. That's what makes the card, like, it's always going to be like one of the, I think in my opinion, it's always going to be one of the most powerful boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because it has 2 of the most powerful ban cards effects just tied into one card. It's just,
yeah. Even if they have the Toad on the field, when you drop Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga just stops Toad right in its tracks.
yeah, it stops Baguska too, because it's like Cold Wave.
Baguska's a big thing too.
No, to everything else. It's like Kali Yuga just has this big fist. He says, "I'm on the board now. You don't do nothing." But anyways, I appreciate you coming on today, Frank, to show you the video. Frank's also sent me a replay that I'm going to show you guys later on as well. And he's been kind enough to share it with me so you guys can actually see the deck in action. So anyway, guys, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching the video today. Frank, we can go ahead and say peace out to everybody.
All right, guys, peace out.
Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all later.